Okay, guys, on Facebook that is. So I want to make sure that I don't think my mic is working. That's my thought. Okay, so here's the question. Can you hear me okay? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Since it's been weeks since I broadcast live, and apparently my settings isn't doing. Hey, Eric, so can you hear me okay? Or can you not hear me? All right, guys, just give me a thumbs up. Yes, sir, I'm Paul, but give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. All right, awesome. All right, good. All right, let me take Instagram live. Okay, guys, guess what? It's not 6:15, it's 6:19. Sorry, but it's been a while. I've come back and from my exploration, basically, and my settings were all whacked out. I guess we lost power while I was gone, and it's humid today. It's crazy, but anyway, that's just part of it, I guess. Global warming, right? Tonight we're going to talk about tires, and I'm going to give you my experience. I'm not going to get much into the sizes and everything. I'm going to talk more about um, how the various tires handle, and this camera's messing up. So let's see, is that better? There we go. But I'm going to talk about, you know, daily driving on a tires and which ones are best in mud, and which ones make the most noise. And so those are the things that we're really going to go over. We're going to talk about all those. Um, and if you want to talk about size a little bit, I will do my best to answer any of the questions about size and going from there. But before I get started, question is, where are you guys from? Love to see where you're from. Andrew, how are you? Long time. I hope Brando's treating you well. So long time I haven't seen you or heard from you or anything. So I hope you're enjoying the Defender. All right, so where are you guys from? Tell me, what part of the country, what part of the world? Washington, D.C. So that's not too awful far, about 6, 7 hours. And Australia, that's cool. New Jersey, awesome. Connecticut, not too far. So some people in the Northeast. Los Angeles, nice town, great weather. Here, it's ridiculous how humid it is. And I'm moving everything around and trying to get situated since I just got back in town. So I'm unpacking the trucks. Troy, interesting. Does size matter? I don't know. We're going to have to ask some other people. Thank you, Strange Automotive. Tucson, Arizona. Awesome. Um, awesome. Brando's amazing. It's about to head across the pond. Oh, Andrew's going to England. Scranton, PA. Been there a few times. Awesome. All right, guys. So I hope Detroit. Boy, the architecture in Detroit is just fabulous. Remember years ago, I went to Detroit and late at night, and I was running around the city taking pictures. Montclair, New Jersey. Been there several times. Awesome. Western Connecticut. So you bought land in the Smokies. We'll be there in Tennessee in 18 months. You're convinced? Well, I'm not convincing you to spend money with me. It's just one of those things. It gets on, that little devil on your shoulder, and it just keeps on nagging at you. And then you keep on watching videos and convincing yourself why you need to do it. At least I'm talking from my own personal experience. So yeah, there you go. But Tennessee, lovely place. I actually spent a number of years in Tennessee. I went to grade school in Memphis, Tennessee. Went to high school in Memphis, Tennessee. Did a little bit of college in Memphis, and then I moved to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Knoxville area is where and then my wife is from Nashville, so a lot of time in Tennessee for sure. So Awesome. All right, so guys, forgive me. I'm going to be sweating a little bit. I normally don't sweat either, but well, not too much. So that's a whole nother topic. So let's talk about tires. So I don't know if you guys know, but recently on Elizabeth. So Elizabeth is my, it's an Aintree Green D110 wagon. That's the one that you'll see me that I use for my camping trips. It has a rooftop tent. It has a shower on top. It has the roof rack. So there's a lot of weight on top. I have a refrigerator in it. I have a coffee tea maker in it. It's a 120 amp alternator, deep cycle batteries, so dual battery system. Uh, so it's like my truck when we go camping, canoeing. That's the one that I take, and we can charge all of our camera batteries and drone batteries and all that good stuff. So I did have the BF Goodrich KO2s on it. So a KO2 BF Goodrich, I will tell you, is an excellent, fabulous, wonderful tire. And if you're sitting there trying to decide, should you get a BF Goodrich or should you get something else, some other brand like a Cooper, I would just tell you my personal preference is definitely the BF Goodrich. It's the longevity for it. The it just and it rides nice. It does well in the heat. It does well in in the rain. It does well in the snow. It's just an all-around good tire. And the KO2 is considered to be an all-terrain tire. So if I'm talking kind of below you guys, I apologize if you already know a lot about tires. Again, I'm just giving you my perspective of tires. But anyway, BF Goodrich KO2 is an all-terrain tire, meaning that it's an all-purpose tire. So if you get into some really, like a lot of clay type mud, not much of anything's going to do really well. And then, so Eric said he hated the KO2 on his Raptor. Well, the Raptor probably has too much horsepower for those KO2s. So I could see why you would not like them on the Raptor. You'd want a stickier tire because the KO2, as far as stickiness, it's not really sticky. And that's the thing. I mean, these tires will go for 40 to 50,000 miles. You'll get that much wear out of them. And anytime you're getting that amount of wear, you have to give up something. And what you're giving up on that is the stickiness. But being that you're in a Land Rover Defender, you're not going to be, the thought of drifting it through the corners and stuff is really not going to be a big thing. I mean, you're not dealing with a lot of horsepower and a lot of speed here like you would in a Raptor. They're a hard compound tire, therefore they last longer. But they, like I said, they do well. They're an all-purpose tire. So that's the BF Goodrich KO2. But Elizabeth, where I did my squirrel moment there, that's what I had on there. And then I got rid of those tires and I went with the BF Goodrich KM3. So now the KM3 is a mud terrain tire. So you leave that all-purpose section and you go into the mud terrain, meaning that it's more generated for mud because the KO2 is probably, and I'm just guessing, I don't know this for fact, do your research on it, but I'm guessing it's probably about a 70% street, 30% off-road. But the KM3 is a little more equal. It's probably more of a 60% off-road, 40% street. And that's what I have on Elizabeth now. And the KM3 being a mud terrain tire, my experience, because I don't know if you guys watched the video that we just recently put out where I went into Vermont and New Hampshire and we camped and I went and got some custom hiking boots made at Peter Limmer, but a lot of rain. And while they do okay in the rain, they weren't ideal in the rain. They just weren't the perfect tire for the rain. There was some points where I hit a lot of water and I could just kind of feel it float a little bit. It didn't seem like it was really moving the water really well, but we did get on some rocky trails and it did really well on the rocky trails. I mean, it did well. So I was happy with them. I'll tell you that the KO2 is a pretty quiet tire. The KM3 is not so quiet. It's got the big lugs on it. I mean, it's got a much more aggressive tread pattern, and it's got a little bit of noise, but it's not an unbearable noise. It's not uncomfortable. It's fine, uh, but you will hear the noise, especially if you have the windows down. So that's the KM3 versus the KO2. Now let me talk about sizes. I'm going to talk about size for Elizabeth, though. Elizabeth is a 16-inch wheel. So to give you an idea, a 16-inch wheel, and when you put the tires on there for a Defender, you're going to see more sidewall. In other words, you're going to have more rubber, that your sidewalls are taller. That's the kind of, a 16-inch wheel is a more, that's really your preferred wheel when you're doing off-roading, because you have more of the rubber, especially if, you know, where you can get the tread pattern on the side so they can dig into the sand or the mud or whatever it is and kind of get the traction that you need to go for, really. So 16, I like a 16-inch wheel just because I like the looks of it, to be honest. A 16-inch wheel will also ride more comfortable than an 18-inch wheel. And again, Elizabeth is a 16-inch wheel. And the reason being that it's a little more comfortable is because you have more rubber. The sidewalls are taller on a 16-inch wheel than they are an 18-inch wheel. So if you have more rubber, then you have more cushion is what it is, versus if you go to an 18-inch wheel, the wheel's bigger and the sidewall, the tire's actually shorter, smaller. So what's happening with an 18 is it steers better, it handles better, it's more precise in the corners and stuff, but you feel more of the road. So Elizabeth being a 16-inch wheel, and what I decided to do was I decided to actually increase the size of the tire. I wanted a little, you know, basically a wider tire is what I was looking for. And I went with a, what did I do? I did a 285 75 16. So that's wider. I actually gained, and again, I'm trying to do this from memory. I could be wrong. You know, I'm thinking it was almost an inch wider than when I had the 265 70. I think it was a 265 70 16 is what it was. Maybe a 75. But anyway, it's about an inch wider and a little bit taller. And where I went up to the 285 75 16. I have it mounted on the sawtooth alloy wheels, and the offset on the sawtooth alloys, offset meaning that how, you know, the wheel, how far does it get it off of the actual, you know, the axle itself, is just a standard, basically a standard offset. And what's happening with the 285 75 16 KM3 now currently is I am getting some rubbing whenever I turn, you know, when I'm trying to make a U-turn in the road, or whenever I'm making a fairly sharp turn. When I'm trying to crank it all the way over, I'm getting some tire rub on it's actually rubbing on the radius arm is what's happening. So that's easy enough to do. I can adjust what's called the bump stop, so it just doesn't let me turn that much, and then you don't get the tire rubbing, and which I'm going to have to do anyway, because you don't want those tires rubbing. It sounds horrible, but I mean, I'm doing slow speeds. It's not like I'm cranking it all the way over at a speed that's not possible. So that's what's happening with the 285 75 16. Really the ideal size when it comes to the sawtooth wheel is on a 16 is that the smaller size, what I had on there originally. It rides nice, it doesn't rub or anything else, but I do like that more rugged look when it comes to that 285 75 16. But I also don't want to go so wide like I did on Enzo, where Enzo's tires are so wide, they're sticking out past the arches. If it's raining or if it's nasty outside at all, I can't drive that truck 10 feet without I'm throwing mud and dirt and just all kinds of crap up the side of the truck. So I can never keep it clean. It's like you don't want to go out if it's raining at all. So that's something to pay attention to. And another thing that I found out too, this isn't a case, well, I don't know if it's a case in New York, because quite honestly, I've never gone and got my vehicles inspected. It's just more of a hassle. You have to go to this other inspection station and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, uh, I know in some states that your tire cannot stick out past your wheel arch, that it has to be within the wheel arch. It cannot stick out farther. So that's a consideration to, know if you're going to get some tires, find out, can you get it in, can it pass inspection? So consider that. All right, so I talked about the KO2. It's a great all-purpose tire. It's pretty quiet. It has longevity. It's a nice tire. KM3, I talked about that. It does well in the rocks. It does well in the mud. It looks rugged. It's got some noise. I don't know about the longevity yet. It is a softer tire than the KO2, so I don't think I'm going to get as many miles on it. But I do like the looks. So that's those two tires. So let's talk about Cooper tires. And I've tried Cooper tires a couple times. So this is just my personal preference when it comes to Cooper tires, and I'll tell you something else about it too. But where I've tried Cooper tires, I didn't really care for them. They didn't seem to last long. And the Cooper tires that I tried the Cooper, I forget what the one model was. It looks comparable to the KO2 is what it's comparable. It's like an all-terrain tire. And then I tried the Cooper STT Pro, which is comparable to the KM3. And I will tell you, the Cooper STT Pro does not do well in the snow. It doesn't do well on wet rocks. It doesn't seem to do well in the mud. It's just, it looks good though. It's a good looking tire. It's noisy. It's hard. It just doesn't seem to perform, at least for me. That's my personal preference. I mean, you might have used them and they might work great for you, but I just didn't care for them. So STT Pro, I didn't care for those. The general tires at Cooper, I didn't care for those. And I asked a buddy of mine that actually has a tire shop in Albany, New York. I said, so hey, Mike, what's the take on the Cooper tires? And he said, well, I bought my, I think he's got a GMC or something like that. And he said, well, I bought my new GMC and it had the Cooper tires on it, and that was the first thing I did is I took them off. So this is a guy that owns a tire shop, and he says, Cooper, they sell on price, they don't sell on quality. I'm like, all right, fair enough. When it comes to Defenders, I have not tried Michelin tires. I have not tried Continental tires. I've only done Cooper, and I've done the BF Goodrich, and then I've done Maxxis. So that's my take on Cooper. Not much to tell you about that. Maxxis tires. So if you look on the website, or if you've seen Enzo, or if you've seen Maxim, the Super Defender, or if you've seen Beirut, which is the Bahama Gold D110 double cab, all three of those builds have Maxxis Trepador tires. And they're 35-inch tires. They're 12.5 inches wide. And they are angry, vicious, just mad at the world tires. And what I mean by that is they do well in the snow. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the videos on the website where I'm running it through the snow, and some people are like, oh, that wasn't very deep. Oh yeah, it was. We were in some really deep snow. So deep, I mean, and Enzo's up there. It's got some height. So deep that when I opened up the door, I was pushing the snow out of the way. And oddly enough, the Maxxis Trepador tires, it says they're not for snow really. But I aired them down to, I think I was around 10 pounds of air pressure, maybe 8 pounds of air pressure on it. And they were slinging some snow. They were getting good grip. They did a great job. I've been on the trails a number of times where we go on the snowmobile trails, the minimum maintenance or the no maintenance trails. And then we've made our way into just where they're logging, where it's just really deep mud. And it's been interesting. So I've gone with some different guys, Jeep guys, and the Jeep guys are always, Paul, you go first. And yeah, all right, no problem. I'll go first, even though I don't have a winch on it, but I didn't want to design Enzo with a winch. It was, it was either the front grill or a winch. It was either or, because it was going to be too much on the front end. So, but Maxxis Trepador, I love those tires. I really do. they're just great. Maxxis Trepador, I hate those tires for the road. Um, if you want to do a longer trip on those tires, they are not the tires. So I've tried a lot of different things when it comes to balancing. So the BF Goodrich, they balance easy, uh, nice balance, no shake in the steering wheel. They do well. Maxxis Trepador, there's nothing you can do to balance them. I've tried beads, I've tried weights, I've tried this other stuff that they put inside the wheel. I've tried all kinds of stuff, and I cannot get those tires to balance. And there's different speeds that you can really feel it in the steering wheel. The steering wheel does a little bit of this at some of the speeds. And then when you get the speed a little higher too, it's a little nerve wracking. I mean, because it's a 35-inch tire. It's mounted to a 17-inch wheel, and I mean the amount of rubber, the sidewalls is huge. So you kind of get that bouncy feeling a little bit is what's happening, and that's just a little nerve wracking on if you're going too fast. So they're definitely not a highway tire. They're okay around 55, 60 miles an hour. They're really soft. After you, even in the snow, when I was running them in the snow and it was cold, you could touch the tire and they were sticky. I mean, they're just really sticky. And there's different types of the Maxxis Trepadors. So these Maxxis Trepadors are the competition ones that we put on. So they're competition mud. I think they're 100% mud. Well, I know they are. They're 100% mud because on the side it says not for highway use. So that's the type of tires there is. Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about when you go to a bigger tire and some things that you have to consider. Because when you start doing that, when you start adding the tires because you like the look of it, the width, the size, the meanness, how it looks aggressive, you're adding more weight because the tires they're heavier. All that rubber is heavier. So, for example, with the Maxxis Trepador, the tire, I believe, weighs 89 pounds. And then the wheels that I have it on they're steel. There's nothing, no alloy there. So they're really taking they take a beating is what happens. So they're steel wheels. I think the wheels weigh about 50 pounds. So you got basically 90 pounds and 50. So you have 140 pounds slinging on that axle, unslung weight. Two of them now. You got 280 pounds slinging, and then you got the rear. So that's a lot of unslung weight, which is creating a lot of stress. And even the KM3 being a bigger tire, I could tell that it was, I mean, when I picked them up, and I'm like, KM3 is heavier than the KO2. So you're creating more stress on the axles. You're creating more stress on your differentials. Through the entire drivetrain, you're just creating more stress on everything is what's happening. So it's going to create more wear and tear when you go with the bigger tires. But it does look good. I said that kind of country, didn't I? But anyway, they look good. I'll give them that. But so that's the Maxxis Trepador. Some other tires that I'm looking at that I'm considering to try on a build right now. One set is Mickey Thompson's. They seem to be really good reviews. Seem to be a nice tire. I've never had a Mickey Thompson, but I'm going to try some. The other set that I've been looking at and considering that I've actually used in the past, because I used to have a Hummer H1, so the military Hummer, and it was a military version, but it was whatever. It was an H1, let's put it that way, with the big turbo diesel in it. And I had the Dick Seepics on that one. Yeah, it was the Dick Seepic that I had. And they were okay. I mean, just okay. I wouldn't buy them again. Yeah, I don't know, but that was years ago. So, and it was, I'm trying to remember what they were when I said they were okay. It was the Dick Seepic. I can't remember the name of them, but I think it was Mud something another. So They were okay. I wouldn't buy them again. Uh, but Dick Seepick has some other tires out, and that's really close to the Mickey Thompsons. And I'm like, you know, tires, give them a shot. But I know on the Hummer, on the H1 with the Dick Seepick, it was a weird name. It was a goofy name. I'm like, where'd they come up with this name? But I did get stuck in the mud a number of times. But however, I mean, we are talking about an H1. And while, you know, a lot of us would think, oh, H1, it does really well. And, you know, yeah, it does well off road. But if it's mud and it's mud where you can actually sink, that's a lot of weight. I think that vehicle is about 8,500 pounds the way I had it loaded up because I had a, what was it, a 15,000 pound winch on the front that was a, what was it? Yeah, it was an electric winch on the front. I mean, the steel on it was huge, just crazy with the bull bar and everything. And I had a crazy roof rack on it, and the rear bumper was solid steel, so it was really, it was set up. It drove like a tank. And Christy, this is a country saying, bless her heart, that I told her, I said, hey, I found a Hummer H1, and do you want to fly out with me to get it? And she's like, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. Had no idea what to expect. So anyway, we flew to Idaho and drove it back. Yeah, that was quite the drive. The driver in an H1 is fine. You got plenty of room as a driver in a Hummer H1. The passenger, not so much. They're really cramped up, and it's not comfortable. Needless to say, she was a bit grouchy on the way home. And we only broke down 3 times. So I was under it and wrenching and everything else. So anyway, squirrel, right? Okay. All right, so let's talk about wheels a little bit. I know you guys probably want to talk about wheels. So if you look at Elizabeth, again, 16-inch sawtooth wheel. If you look at Herod, H-E-R-O-D, which is my D110 double cab, by the way, I did a video where I was driving earlier today, went to the chiropractor. It's the first time I've been. I feel kind of I feel kind of free, lighter. But anyway, all right, so squirrel. And I have the 18-inch Nemesis wheel on there, which is a 5-spoke wheel. And the Nemesis wheel, either you love them or hate them, but I think they're a good-looking wheel. And 18-inch KO2 BF Goodrich, and it rides nice. It handles nice. So when it comes to wheels, I mean, I'll give you some options here, some wheels that you might want to look at. We all know the Sawtooth, very popular wheel. That was a wheel that they did as an anniversary wheel on the Puma. Everybody seems to love that wheel. It's a safe wheel, meaning safe. Everybody loves it. It's an alloy wheel. You can get it in a 16-inch. You can get it in an 18-inch. You can get it in a silver. You can get it in a graphite color. You can get it in a black, shiny, and you can get it in a flat black. So a lot of options there. Your other option is called Wolf, W-O-L-F, Wolf wheels, which you can get that in a 16-inch. It's only in a 16-inch. And you've seen those. If you look at Baird on my website, Baird has a 16-inch white sawtooth. You can get them in black and you can get them in white. If you look at, let me think of another one, Derwent. If you look at Derwent on Helderburg.com, which is the Keswick Green soft top, that is a Wolf wheel, but we painted it Keswick Green to match the body. So those are nice wheels, but I will tell you with those wheels, there's not much of an offset, so you really can't go with that much, can't go with a wide tire. I'm not going to say not that much, you just can't go with a wide tire on that one because it doesn't get it out far enough. So go look at Derwent on Helderburg.com and look at those tires. You will see that they are BF Goodrich KM3 mud terrain tires, but they're narrower. So I went with a narrower wheel, but they're tall. And it actually raised the truck up a bit. And they have a little bit of noise, but there's something to be said about a narrower tire. It's a good looking, it looks a little more classic is what it is. So there you go. So Sawtooth mentioned that, Wolf mentioned that. There's also what's called modular wheels. So modular looks a lot like a Sawtooth. They come in a 17-inch generally. You can also get them in an 18-inch. and get it in black. So really a modular, what it is it's a steel wheel, has a steel rim, and then it modular, meaning the centerpiece is an additional piece. So it's actually a two-piece wheel and it has holes around the outside versus a wolf wheel is a solid piece of steel. And modular is generally a good tire, I mean, a good wheel that you can get if you want to go with a wider tire because they have various offsets. So my point is, if you want that wolf wheel look, but you want a wider tire, then you need to go to the modular wheel. But if you go with a 17, it's going to be a little harder to find some tires, but you can definitely, Maxxis Trepador has some tires for that. So that gives you that aggressive look. So on that. But again, when you start putting bigger tires, you need to consider heavier duty axles, heavier duty transfer case, a heavier duty transmission. If you raise it too much, you need to replace your radius arms. So there's, a lot that needs to go into it. All right, so there you go. Another wheel manufacturer would be Kahn, K-A-H-N. Go to their website, you can check it out. You can also see on Helderburg.com. Winston, the D90, has a set of Kahn wheels. And then I've got Wise D110 that you guys will see soon, soon. I posted a picture of it on Instagram earlier this morning. It's the Havana Gray Pearl, but he has the Kahn wheels. Take a look. There's the different Kahns, and I get them mixed up, whether it's a 1983 or a 19, I don't know what, 19, I don't know. They have different numbers, and I get them mixed up. Why? We'll tell you that. But anyway, so Kahn has a lot of different wheels. Generally, they're pretty proud of their wheels, though, price-wise. And then there's also Bowler wheels. So Bowler, B-O-W-L-E-R, they have some various wheels. Nice wheels, not as much of a selection. And yeah, but they're nice wheels. But I think, I don't know for sure, but I think just being in the industry so long that these various wheels are probably made by a limited number of manufacturers, and the companies are just putting their name on it and charging a premium for it. But they do have some exclusive designs on them. So other wheels, I mean, of course, you can do bead lockers. If you've looked at like Beirut, Enzo, and Maxim, that's a bead locker style. So what a bead locker is it's you mount the tire, and then you have this steel ring that has all these bolts. And this steel ring, what it's doing is it's pinching the rubber of the tire and holding it in place. So you're holding it really steady on the rim. The reason you want to do that, like this winter when I was out in Enzo and I aired down to like 8 to 10 pounds, letting all that air pressure out, you can get that wheel to actually, the tire will spin on the wheel, and it'll be a mess. It'll come off the wheel. So the bead locker holds that tire in place so you can really air it down low. I also forgot to mention, so let's talk about radial tires versus bias ply. So BF Goodrich, KM3, KO2, those are all radial tires, which is a very popular. Most tires are radial. However, Maxxis, the Maxxis Trepador tires that I use, they are called a bias ply, B-I-A-S-P-L-Y. So a bias ply tire is an older style. They used to be really popular. You would see them on the old trucks, you'd see them on tractors, you'd see them on trailers. So it's the way the tire is made. And so a radial that you have you have the steel cords in there, and the way they're actually wrapped, it makes it for a, let's say, a stronger tire is what it does. It will last longer generally than a bias ply. So with a radial, a lot of them are directional, but what it is directional that makes sure that it goes this way. And but with the bias ply, it has a directional for the front and it has a directional for the rear. So if your tires on the front have a directional that they need to go, and the same tire, when you put it on the rear, it has a directional for the rear. So they're going different directions, and that's the reason being is because of the bias ply, the way it's actually done, it's like a sisal rope. You know, like kind of like a, you guys know a sisal rope. So like when you twist it, it gets tighter this way. And then when you twist it this way, it gets looser. And that's the way the bias ply tire is really designed. It's like a sisal rope. So depending on your purpose and how you're using it, it's, you know, important in how you mount the tires. It's more so on motorcycles, by the way. Did you guys see the north? Depending on where you're looking, which way? Oh, yeah, this way. There we go. Good Norton over here. I'm reversed on the screen here. So anyway, it's all custom. Yeah, you should hear it, the sound. Oh, beautiful. 1970, by the way. So 1970, full nut and bolts, all restored, and just got it finished. So anyway, yeah. All right, squirrel. All right, so that's a bias ply. Bias ply is an older technology. However, the benefit of the bias ply is it does really well off-road. It just really kind of forms and is almost like putty when you're going over rocks. It just forms over the rock and just gets all of that traction and uses every square centimeter of traction space and just will climb through anything. Radial doesn't do that as well. Radial's a great tire, but if you're going to do more off-road, bias ply, I believe, in my opinion, is the way to go. So there you go. So I hope I helped you guys with wheels and tires and all that. Yeah, I wish I could tell you more about like Continental. I've done that on my new Range Rover, the Continentals. I've done Michelin's on other stuff. I've done Pirellis. But when it comes to the Defenders, I'm pretty much tried and true on the BF Goodrich KO2, KM3, or the Maxxis Trepadors. I mean, that's the way it is right now. But like I said, I'm looking at some of the, you know, Mickey Thompsons, and I don't know. I'm still debating over the Dick Seepics to try those again, but they do look good. So anyway, do you guys have any questions? I feel like I just been going and 37 minutes of that on Facebook, by the way. All right. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to go finish rearranging and unloading the truck and all that. Boy, I got back just in time. It's going to be crazy. So we're going to go on the road here pretty soon. I've got a canoe trip. I got to go do that. You better believe I'm going to shoot videos and pictures. So we're talking about doing the Allagash. So Allagash is in Maine. It's 92 miles. It takes about 10 days, 7 to 10 days. It will take us longer because I'll want to do pictures and all that fun stuff. So anyway, but it's supposed to be a great way to see moose and, you know, eagles and all that. So we'll see. So I've got that. And then we're going on the tour with the Defenders. So we'll have 4 of them. And our first stop will be in Millbrook, New York. So September 18th and 19th, I believe that's the date. But I'll start posting it. But Millbrook, New York, which is down south of New York, that will be that. And then after that, the very next weekend, we will be in Pennsylvania. I forget the name of the town, but I believe it's not too far from Philadelphia, I believe. So anyway, but have that. And then, and it slips me where we're going to be. Oh, then the next weekend we'll be in Vermont. And then I don't know where after that. So I know we're going to be in Dallas, Houston, and I know Dallas, Houston. Nope, not East Coast only. So because we got Dallas and Houston, might be South Dakota. We're seeing what's going with that. We don't have anything for California. We don't have anything for Vegas yet. We've had some people sign up and say, come, but just trying to route it out and do the map and everything. So like I said, Dallas, Houston, possibly South Dakota. And of course, on the way to go to Dallas and all that stuff, we'll say where we're going. But anyway, more to come on that, guys. So I'm going to let you go enjoy your evening. I see Christy's coming back with Leo and Lucy. They went for their walk. And I got to clean up. All right. Talk to you guys. Have a good night. Talk to you. Bye.